Hi! Welcome to Lux, our institute. Jungle Poppins is so excited to play at Mom's Radical Inclusion Art Show. I wish you could be here, but we're coming right at you on Zoom. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the concert.
Hi, we are Jungle Poppins. I'd like to introduce the band. This is Ethan on drums, and Brendan on bass, and Stephen Kroll on guitar. I'm Marie Moriarty on vocals and keyboard. Our first song will be The Bare Necessities from the movie The Jungle Book. Ready?
So just try and relax. Fall apart in my backyard. 'Cause let me tell you something, little britches. If you act like that bee acts, you're working too hard. And don't spend your time looking around for something you want that can't be found. Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I could be founder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in that tree to make some honey just for me. When you look under the rocks and plants and take a glance at the fancy ants, then maybe try a few. The bare necessities of life will come to you. They'll come to you. Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife.
Yeah, man.
I mean the bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Now when you pick a pawpaw or a prickly pear, and you pick a raw paw, well, next time beware. Don't pick the prickly pear by the paw. When you pick a pear, try use the claw. 'Cause you don't need to use the claw when you pick a pear of the big pawpaw. Have I given you a clue? The bare necessities of life will come to you. They'll come to you.
Our next song is FaceTime Lover. I like to FaceTime my friend Brittany, so Steven wrote a song about us FaceTiming each other.
From the top of her nose to the top of her head, we always chat right before bed. In the phone's dim glow, I just want you to know you're my FaceTime lover, I'll never let you go. FaceTime lover, I don't need another. FaceTime lover, you're with me wherever I go. Miles apart, yeah, oh so near. Wherever I go, I can see the sound of your voice and whatever you say, at least the top of your nose to the top of your head. FaceTime lover, I don't need another. FaceTime lover, you're with me wherever I go. FaceTime lover, I don't need another. FaceTime lover, you're with me wherever I go.
Our next song is Life is Better with Friends, written by Reed Moriarty and Esther Hood. This song is dedicated to friends everywhere.
Friends are special because they help each other. It can be like having a sister or a brother. We can spend time together. Life is better with friends. Life is better with friends. Life is better with friends. Don't wanna be alone in the lonely zone. Life is better with friends. Grab a Mexican Coke with Paul. I can always give him a call. We can spend time together. Life is better with friends. Life is better with friends. Life is better with friends. Wanna be alone in the lonely zone. Life is better with friends. Life without friends would be sad, but being with friends makes us glad. If you share with someone new, they could become a new friend. Life is better with friends. Life is better with friends. Don't wanna be alone in the lonely zone. Life is better with friends. 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 Life is better with friends.
Hi, my name is Steven, and the next song will be You Got a Friend in Me from Disney's Toy Story.
Count us off, Ethan.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. When the road looks rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, just remember what your old pal said, 'cause you got a friend friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got a friend in me. You got troubles, I got 'em too. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for you. We stick together, we can see it through. 'Cause you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me. Some other folks might be a little bit smarter than I am, bigger and stronger too, maybe, but none of them will ever love you the way I do. It's me and you, boy, and as the years go by, our friendship will never die. You're gonna see it's our destiny. You got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me. Yeah, you got a friend in me.
Wish we could actually play together someday.
Wait, did you like the Jungle Book?
Yes! We named the band Jungle Poppins after 2 movies, Mary Poppins and Jungle Book.
Good job.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining in today's celebration of Radical Inclusion Traveling Art Exhibition. Thank you so much, Jungle Poppins, for starting this evening off with a little bit of a dance party and putting us all in a great mood. I absolutely loved it. So because of everything that is going on, we had to change Radical Inclusion Traveling Exhibition to a virtual one, but we're still so excited to be sharing the work that's in the traveling exhibition on an even bigger scale through this digital platform. So we're really excited to share this talk with you tonight, and to be sharing the work all online so you can revisit the stories, the work, and take another look. So radical inclusion, it's all about celebrating inclusivity, diversity, and really the beauty and importance in taking the time to communicate and to learn, no matter through what form that communication is. And we are so thrilled to be part of this really important message of this traveling exhibition. To start off, I want to share with you the work that is in the show. And give everybody a glimpse at all of the other artists. Tonight we're joined by 4 of the 12 artists. But before I introduce them, I want to show you the work that's in the traveling exhibition. Also, like I said before, all the works and stories will be up on our website, so you can look at it at your own leisure as well. And on our website, we'll also include the websites of the artists and their Instagrams, so you can check out the other work that they're working on and support them in any way that you are interested in. Also, the works are for sale, and we'll have contact information on our website. So if you're interested in adding any of the works to your art collection, you can do that as well. So first off, we have Alejandra Acosta and Rich Walker, who collaborated together. Born in Brawley, California, Acosta loves to draw and paint landscapes and flowers. Using lots of color and pattern, she paints with acrylic, oil, and watercolor. Her favorite artist is Vincent van Gogh. Born in Massachusetts, Walker road tripped to California in the 80s and stayed. Art has helped him find out more about himself. As a self-taught abstract artist working with color, depth, and movement, he enjoys the painting as both a practice and an introspection. This is their response to working together. Acosta found Walker to be friendly, creative, and full of spirit. Acosta says, "Mr. Walker taught me how to empty my emotions on canvas with color." Walker responded that he painted layers to reflect how he let go of preconceived ideas and then added to his painting after each conversation with Acosta. Here you can see all three of their works together installed at Lux. Sorry, nobody gets to see this in person, but this is at Lux. Our next artist duo is, and who are also joining us tonight, are Brandon Kerr, who also performed in Mary Poppins, and Joy Bo. Sorry, Joy, I almost mispronounced. Joy Bo. Okay. San Diego native, drawing inspiration from his coastal lifestyle, Kerr is a highly visual with unique perspective. He has explored various media to express how he sees the world, seeking to connect and share his experiences through fine art, fiber art, graphic design, and photography. San Diego native Bo operates Revision. Oh, also, I do want to give a shout out to Revision and Synergy Arts Foundation as well for, helping this amazing project come to life, along with Andrea Moriarty, who will be joining us tonight. This wonderful project is because of them. So also, Joy, thank you for that as well. Bo operates Revision to provide inclusive access to art, culture, and environmental education. Her personal interest in earth care and human rights is infused in her work with cardboard loom weaving, paper collage, and street photography. She participated in projects with the Agriprop, UCSD, and the San Diego Art Museum of Art. Kerr chose pen, ink, and watercolor to show community. The lines indicate connection, and the bright colors show happiness. Weaving is a profound metaphor for a thriving community, the tactile practice of reciprocity, unifying opposites, mindfulness, and resourcefulness. Unique personalities in fiber are united towards a larger purpose, and everyone has a place. This is their collaborated piece. And here you see they're a little bit smaller, but this is their installation at Lux. Our next artist duo are Ethan Marr, who was also in Jungle Poppins, and Anna Stoefen. I'm sorry, Anna, if I mispronounce your name as well. Inspired by his travels, Marr captures his observations of the natural world through the lens of his unique perspective. Born in Vallejo, California, he currently lives in Del Mar. Colored pencil is his medium of choice. Since moving back to her hometown of San Diego 5 years ago, Stoefen has fallen in love with the ocean, which informs her subject matter, and more so her process, which might be lovingly called trash art. With the exception of occasional glue, she uses all recycled materials. This is what the artist said about their project. After a couple days of drawing plants and animals, a theme of ecosystem emerged. And so we created an aquarium, a forced yet familiar type of community. We collaborated on a collage of our drawings and then highlighted patterns and relationships between the individual members, the fish, without overshadowing their individuality. And here is their installation view. Our next artist, and also joining us tonight, are Jack Medved and Amanda St. Clair. Medved was born in Puerto Rico and currently lives in Coronado. He's a fan of Eric Carle, Ezra Jack Keats, and the animation of PBS Wildcrats and Disney Stanley. He works primarily in markers on animals, scenery, and stylized pet portraits. His animal expertise is also showcased on his Instagram. Sinclair's exhibits in San Diego, Northern California, Scottsdale, and Santa Fe. Sinclair paints primarily in oil, but also uses latex, acrylic, and watercolor in non-traditional methods, as well as charcoal and cold wax. She is pursuing an MA in therapeutic counseling in the expressive arts. Sinclair thinks out loud, while Medved thinks in peace in his head. This collaboration was forged through a passion for imagination and a sense of humor. Medved's love of animals consumed their conversation, working from his studies on paper of various habitats. Sinclair allowed for movement in the studio, finding Medved's artistic energy infectious and inspiring. And here is their install. Our next collaborative team is Katie Flores and Moya Devine. A prolific and passionate painter, Flores is 24. Flores loves painting flowers and shares Andy Warhol's artistic expression. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear that really loud car driving by right now. Welcome to Zoom. And shares Andy Warhol's artistic expression through pop art. Born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, she currently resides in North County, San Diego. Her art business provides purpose, joy, and participation in the community. Born in France, Devine has lived in Louisiana, Hawaii, and California. In San Francisco, she started Brand X Theater and began her work as a visual artist. Devine has also worked in a nonprofit management. She has shown internationally and teaches at-risk students in the California public high school system. When Flores and Devine met, they shared many traits. Flores was passionate about her work and opinionated. Their collaboration required compromise. Flores chose to paint flowers because they portray happiness. Painting makes her feel good. Devine was most impacted by Flores's energy, willingness to make revisions, and beginner's mind. She came to realize Flores is a focused powerhouse of a painter. And their installation. And our last artist pairing, Stevenson, Sapper, and Deron Cohen joined together in their collaboration. Sapper expresses himself through text-based art, using the power of written words and symbols from popular culture. He creates a figurative language so that others can follow his interest and understand his depth. His artwork was recently included in National Traveling Art Show and at the Nishiri Gallery in Japan. San Diego native Cohen has shown his paintings in galleries and venues throughout San Diego County. He creates curricula for children and teaches them through arts for Learning San Diego. Cohen also teaches students in person and around the world via webcam. Cohen received a BFA from UCLA. This collaboration was both challenging and satisfying, the artists say. Sapper was quiet, communicating his enjoyment through action. He immediately sat down and started working with which indicated, great interest. He painted phrases as clues within his painting, like me, you, and thank you for my first time. There were novel messages to Cohen about the magic of their collaboration. And this is their installation. And now I would like to introduce our artists tonight that are joining us. And joining us are Jack Medved and Joy Bo. I will get this right. And Brandon Kerr and Amanda St. Clair. And also joining us is author and co-organizer of Radical Inclusion Traveling Exhibition, Andrea Moriarty. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. All of you are on mute, so I can't hear anybody.
Thanks for having us.
I'm so glad that you're joining us. So I would like to start with a couple questions. And I will start with you, Jack, because you are first on my screen. So tell us, what are some of the most interesting things you have learned in collaborating?
What did she say?
She's wondering what some of the most interesting things are you learned in collaborating with.
Well, she made me creative artist in her own way, and so are we. Every artist is so unique, but just one word of advice. If sometimes we have to think before we see it in a different way. It's always important to see eyeball to eyeball.
So Jack, we missed what you said in the beginning because your internet cut out. Could you repeat again what you said in the beginning?
What were you saying about collaboration? About working together?
What did I?
She asked about working with Amanda.
Well, it was hard to think clearly, but she did something that she shouldn't have. Well, not really. It's think what to make, and could not think clearly when she was talking all along, suggesting too much. Until I had a little assisting to work it out, so we can. Thing is, everyone's creative art's their own way, very unique. Though you see how good their artwork is, take my advice. One thing I learned that is wise, we must think before we see differently. We must work hard. Let's try eyeball to eyeball.
Well, like you said, that's why it's so important to see eyeball to eyeball, right? So that's something that you and Amanda then learn to do.
You should see things through. You know what I mean, don't you?
I do know what you mean. So Amanda, tell me what some of the interesting things are that you learned in collaborating.
Oh, of course. So Jack came with just an amazing portfolio of work. His passion for animals really is evident in his drawings, and he can, just from his imagination, render, an Asian elephant as opposed to, an African elephant, and create them with a lot of personality. So really it was just guiding him into being comfortable with some new media, namely painting. And what I think I learned was how to, navigate respecting his differences, because our differences, because as Jack says, everyone's an artist in their own right. So it was finding a way to come together to create these beautiful collaborative pieces. And that really worked seamlessly together, but yet, were created two very different ways. So that was really really amazing. And we've done some work afterwards too, and on a larger scale. And yeah, it was really, really an amazing process.
I love that. What about you, Brendan? What are some of the most interesting things that you learned in collaborating with Joy?
I learned how I can use my photography for inspiration to work on my weaving and painting.
And what about you, Joy? What are some of the things you learned working with Brandon?
I'm gonna unmute myself. I learned that sometimes sharing silence with someone is more important than trying to come up with a plan together. Brendan is a very skilled, talented artist. He was sort of intimidating because he can do everything really well. So we didn't come into this project at all like a teacher-student type relationship at all. It was more of like, let's just see what happens when we share a creative space together. And I think one of my major takeaways from this experience is really just letting the materials direct that creative process and kind of just exploring together instead of maybe trying to focus so much on like, you know, the outcome, just kind of focusing more on the journey together and just being kind of comfortable in silence, which can be really awkward at first, but we had a really good time together and created something really cool just by like showing each other what we both enjoyed and just kind of like playing around like you would when you're excited about something new and fun.
Yeah, I really love that. I think, you know, that shows just the importance of taking time to learn how to communicate with each other so that you can really have a shared experience and create some magic together. And, you know, that's what this project is all about. And taking the time that's sometimes all it needs. So I want to jump to Andrea. And just so everybody knows, we will be doing an on-air episode with Andrea next week where we're doing a deep dive into, you know, this amazing project, the concepts behind it, how it all came to be. But I do want to hear a little bit from Andrea about how this project did come to be and the concept, and the theme is community. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, Andrea?
Yes, so my son Reed is on the spectrum and is in the band, and he's always had a special interest in music, which is pretty common to autism to have a special interest. But so many of his friends, for them, the interest is visual arts. But when he finished high school, we started a podcast for him. And the book that I wrote called Radical Inclusion tells the story of making those podcasts over 5 years, right? We have the matching shirts.
Yeah.
But about 50 podcasts into that adventure, I started to see a pattern, and all of the guests who he interviewed, who said yes to an unlikely conversation really with him, exhibited risk, humility, and kindness. And I began to see those as building blocks for inclusion in culture. And that became kind of the idea for the book. So in the book, I tell the stories of making the podcast, and then I also highlight 12 model programs, innovative programs for adults with disabilities around the country. And each of those have risk, humility, and kindness really at their core as a mission. And so when it came time to do the cover for the book, I licensed this artwork from someone who paints at Creativity Explored, which is one of the model programs in San Francisco. And Jack's mom and I and another friend went, well, Katie, you saw Katie's work, and another friend, we went up to San Francisco to deliver a book to Jose, whose artwork is on the cover. And coming home from that trip, I really thought we need something in San Diego that would be a visual metaphor for this concept and main theme of the book, which is that we're better together and that we need each other. And the visual arts are such a great metaphor for that because you can see it. And Reed's we've experienced that through the band because Reed's paired with musicians who are session musicians and professionals, and he learns from them and they learn from each other and they're better together. But I thought, how hard would it be to put together an art show with 6 artists, on this 6 artists with disabilities, 6 artists without, and 6 venues. And I approached Synergy, a nonprofit here in Solana Beach, and they put out a call to artists, and I approached Joy at Revision, and they both jumped on board and insisted that all the artists get a stipend. And then I started calling venues and they all said yes. So we didn't have 6, we had more than 12 because the community was so interested. And I think so many people want to engage maybe, but they don't know how. And so this, that was evidenced in the overwhelming interest from the venues. So that's how it came about. And then these artists, we matched them based on genre, but also geography, so that they could get together, and they met 3 times to create this collaboration. So it's been really interesting to see it in each location. I think tonight was even more personal than I expected because, it looks different in each space, but here it was very personal because you're just right, very close up to the piece.
It's on your own screen, you're face to face, a new experience for sure. Thank you so much, Andrea. I think, it's such a lovely project. And when you approached us, we're all, as a team, we were very supportive and we wanted to be part of this message. So we're really excited and happy that we get to be, part of one of the stops for this traveling exhibition. And I think it shows the importance of sharing your stories and having people share their stories. And, I want to ask that of the artists as well, and maybe I'll ask it of as a team. So Jack and Joy, if you can answer this maybe collaboratively, what do you think is the importance about sharing stories, and what did you learn from sharing your stories with each other?
What is she saying?
So I worked with Brendan. I work with Jack now. But
Sorry, yes.
Do you want me to share about that, the time that I spent with Brendan with the project?
Yes, please. Sorry.
Okay.
It's because you guys are next to each other on my screen, so I get messed up.
Okay. We all kind of work together now, which is kind of awesome because that's the whole point of doing a project like this. Like, we all have been in contact since Andrea started this. So I now have relationships with the other guys too, which is amazing. But yeah, so when Brendan and I worked together, we shared stories a little bit differently. He is a very sensory-driven artist, so he really enjoys being like immersed in the materials. And I know, as you guys have all seen, like, he's a musician as well. So his way of kind of communicating is more about showing things like a tactile sort of experience. So we didn't really like sit down and say, hey, what's your story? Here's where I'm from, or what do you do for fun? It was more about like him selecting a material and showing me that he liked it, or saying, no, definitely we're not going to use that. So it was more about like us just like a give and take sort of experience. But I do think in general, sharing stories or just being in a shared space with people that you don't normally interact with is really important. I think it requires a little bit of like a sense of vulnerability in just being authentically who you are and allowing the other person to be authentically who they are. And it kind of unifies differences. You kind of see like parallels in each other as you're working. And I think that kind of makes it feel a little bit more comfortable, when you just are getting to know someone. I feel like we all probably like that sense of comfort and kind of exploring things. So that's kind of what I experienced working with Brendan, because we were thrown into it without any sort of, introduction, really, it was just like, hey, he's gonna be here and let's like work on something together. So it was really more about like doing it in the moment and less about like planning what that moment would look like. And it was really awesome for that reason.
I mean, I think, you know, the word authentic, sorry, is the perfect description where, you know, you were having an authentic experience where both of you were just in it and seeing where it took you.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan, what about you? How did you feel about sharing or the ability to share your stories through your art and by showing Joy what you did? Oh, Brendan, you're on mute. Yeah.
I shared my photographs and weavings with Joy, and Joy shared making art with me. The stories we shared was the art we made together.
I love that. You created a new story together. That's really beautiful. So what about you, Jack and Amanda? What did you find important about sharing your stories with each other, and how did you find a good way to, you know, communicate and share those stories?
Well, I think that the stories and the art that we created were really driven by, and Jack, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was really driven by Jack's love of animals. And I've been fortunate to live all over the world. And so some of the animals that he's seen in the zoo, I've actually seen in the wild in different parts of the world. And so we were able to share a lot of shared experiences through that, which, as Joy said, was unexpected because, you know, we had 3 or 4 meetings and, you know, a deadline to deliver a finished project, but we didn't know each other and we didn't know kind of how each other worked or how it was going to all, you know, come about. But in the end, you know, it really, by the last time we met, we were just kind of working side by side on our projects and getting them done, and you know, finding ways to kind of weave our stories together. But you know, Jack is really passionate about animals and the community of stories, and he shared that at other exhibitions, particularly the Humphrey the Whale story, which I'm sure he'll share. Right, Jack? I think you're muted. There you go.
I opened it. I have to click it.
There you go.
There you go.
Let's see if this kiddo can tell. Let me see. What do I want to say?
Do you want to rephrase the question for him again about stories?
Of course, yes. So what do you think is important about sharing your stories?
Let me see. Which ones?
Well, the stories you communicate through your art.
Glad you ask. But before we can get... Hold on a sec.
There you go.
As I was saying... Sorry, Ma. I see that I'm trying to get correcting it myself. What I'm trying to say is, as this kiddo would say, thing is, every time when I share a story, I share about the lessons we learned from it. Like, let's see, what's here?
Do you want to show your wolf picture for a lesson?
Well, although I know some stories that have wolves in it, the wolf here, well, the wolf howl at the moon is just a myth. It's actually communication. Like I read in a little book, and facts about it, that howling is for communication, where they live, they're living in family groups, and they're shy and wary of people. Here's another for example. Bring it in.
Humphrey? Here it comes, Humphrey.
This one, Humphrey the Lost Whale, a true story. Story by Winnie Takut and Richard Hall, illustrated by Hanako Wakayama. Illustrations, to be exact. And this story was not just about a whale, it's also about all the humans who cared enough to help him find his way home. As a matter of fact, it's all about helping creatures survive. My favorite part was Humphrey said thank you by doing tricks when he spent one day happily swimming around the bay and returned home back to his family. Thanks to the people who saved him from the Sacramento River. Huh. Long live the whales and all the creatures of the globe.
You know, Jack, I love some of the things that you're talking about with, you know, the communication and the way that wolves communicate as a community and a family, and the way that when community comes together, they can do amazing things like save the whales, and, you know, this kind of gratitude that happens when you get together as a community, I think is really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that story. I would...
You know me here.
I feel like you, Jack and Amanda, have already answered my next question, what your collaboration was about. So I want to pass this question over to Brandon and Joy and ask you what your collaboration piece was about.
Oh, collaboration.
Oh, we first collaborated on Ocean Pebbles, a weaving inspired by my photograph, Ocean Pebbles. The theme for the show was community, and for me, community means my friends. So we did a painting together called Circle of Friends about friendship.
I love that. And Joy, I believe that you have the ceramic inspiration behind you.
Up in that corner there. So yeah, when we first met, we started with weaving, and it sort of evolved into watercolor. So every time we met, we kind of worked on something new and just kind of, like I said before, let the materials sort of like direct where we were going that day. Brendan is extremely talented, so he can draw something just by like glancing at it, much like Jack actually. So he had shown me some of his watercolors and some of his weavings, and we were kind of just like playing around with like how we can incorporate them together. So anyway, he did a really awesome watercolor of a photograph that he had taken of his friends at the beach. So our collaborative piece actually ended up being a watercolor depiction of a sculpture that we had in the studio. And it's a Mayan sculpture called Circle of Friends. It's a very well-known image depicted in many different cultures. And that's what we ended up submitting, although we played with the idea of doing a loom piece together. And our first time we met, we actually built an oversized loom together just to start there and kind of see where it would take us. And from that, as you can see behind Brendan, he was pointing out, that's one of the pieces that he's worked on since then. So it's, you know, we just were kind of all over the place, but we ended up with the watercolor Circle of Friends, which we both really enjoyed working on.
I love that. And you lead into my next question, so that's great. And I want to ask each one of you, how did collaborating influence the work that you're working on now? And Brendan, I want to start with you because I know you shared some pictures with me, so I would like to start with sharing those.
Yes. Can you please share my work with the audience?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
So right now we're looking at Ocean Pebbles.
It made me see how I can use my photographs to inspire my weavings and paintings. Since that time, I have painted ocean pebbles and done my own ocean pebbles weaving. In Millie Mozart exhibition, I used my photograph, Colors of the Band, of Jungle Poppins, the band I play in, as inspiration for the weavings I created for the show. Hazy sunsets, acrylic paintings, and weaving was inspired by the photograph I took of the sun setting at Del Mar Beach. Thanks to Joy showing me I can use my photographs for inspiration.
Thank you so much, Jack. I love those pieces. Your weavings are really beautiful, and they're such a really beautiful interpretation of something that's realistic and turning it into an abstract. And I know that Amanda and Jack had the conversation about abstract a lot, because Amanda works in abstract and Jack likes very figurative work. I don't know if you want to respond to that and how you enjoyed that and how now in your work you're using abstraction, Jack.
She's asking about what do you use that you learned from working with Amanda in your current artworks?
Well, I'll tell you why. See, it all started just many memories ago. It was very hard to figure out. All it took was a little brainstorming, different paints here, and, well, make sure I understand Amanda's directions. And we just make sure we got it right. And, well, we did it. Thanks to my official work, to total brains and colors of choice. Work of art.
So do you want to, this one, when you did the background, what about it reminds you of working with Amanda?
Well, I was not background right, but it doesn't have to be the same one on the image. And most of mine are, but some of them are just, ooh, beauty. You know, like how I did it my way, made them in very good shape, because I like to say my artwork is what I like to say, unique. It's good.
I love that, Jack. I think you hit such an important point in art, which is all about, you know, sharing and learning, but then making it your own. And you learned from Amanda, but then you made it your own. And it's unique and it's you, and I love that. So Amanda, what about you? What did you, you know, take away from your collaboration?
Yeah, it's really heartwarming to see you incorporating your painting, Jack. That's great. Well, it encourages me to take risks. I've been doing more drawing in my work now, and also doing some mixed media, because with Jack in the studio, you know, I would take some of his drawings and embed them in my paintings, because he was working on paper, and that's, you know, our pieces that we created were mixed media. So I've had fun doing that. So now I've been working in mixed media, which is something I hadn't done previously. I was more of just an oil painter. So yeah, it definitely, the experience definitely changes you and opens you up to new ideas. And Jack's been back to the studio, and now Katie, one of the other artists, has started coming to the studio, and I just really enjoy the energy. It's just so refreshing to work with people who have different backgrounds than you and see the world differently, and it really opens you up for a more authentic and richer experience, I'd say.
What about you, Joy? Any things that you took away from your collaboration with Brandon?
I think just being more playful and open to different techniques, and just always allowing the unexpected to happen. I practice a lot of art in a different sense. I'm more of like a facilitator than than, being able to really sit down and do my art. And it's taught me to just kind of let things evolve naturally and not get caught up in the completed product or think if something is marketable or if anyone else is going to appreciate what you see in it, and really just kind of being there in the moment, in the present experience with somebody else, and kind of just seeing what emerges. So I think that creative process is really all about trial and error, and just not like being forgiving of yourself and just seeing where it takes you. And so that's one thing I've really been trying to implement when we have classes at revision, or even if I'm just working on something myself, just really kind of letting go of what I kind of visualize would be the outcome, and just having fun instead. And I know that seems sort of like a basic principle of making art, but I think a lot of times, especially in San Diego, you're kind of pressed with like, is anyone else going to appreciate this, or how much am I going to get for it, or where is this going to go? And now I'm kind of thinking more of like, well, it's more about just really allowing that process to happen naturally. And like Amanda said, just being, learning from somebody else and being in the same space as someone who might have a different background as you.
Yeah. And that will allow you to be authentic to yourself. I think, that's one of the things, the word that is really, the word communication. It's really settling with me to be authentic to yourself and, to take the time. So my final question I want to send to all of you, because, this is such an important concept, and it's so important that this is not just a one-time thing, and that we are continuing to, encourage radical inclusion and to celebrate that and to make that part of our daily lives. So I would love to hear some of the projects or concepts or things that you're hoping to develop in the future. Any of you? Open floor.
I would love to say that Joy, represents Revision, which is a creative workspace for adults of all abilities. And they've just opened a beautiful new space in Hillcrest on 4th Avenue. And it's growing, which is wonderful news for the community, because it's a place to experience this kind of inclusion, but also belonging. Because one of the things that we'll go into next week on the deep dive is that the thing about radical inclusion is that it's mutually reciprocal. So as I include you, I also experience belonging. And so Revision is a great place for people interested in the visual arts. And very often there's a special interest that's the bridge or the connector between people. And it might be music, it might be painting, it might be weaving, it might be diesel engines, it might be vacuum cleaners. So if, for those people who are interested in the arts, Revision is a place locally here where they can engage with people who have that shared common interest. And it's so important for our adults with autism or other disabilities to be connected in community, because they have so much potential and have so much ability and so much to teach us. And yet they can't do that in isolation. So to engage with them makes us all better. And the special interests are the avenue, I think, to do that.
I love that. I want to end it on that note, but thank you all so much, Jack and Brandon and Joy and Amanda, for joining us, and all of the other radical inclusion artists for sharing your work with us at Lux. And please keep an eye on our website, where we'll be posting all of this and the stories, and you can visit it anytime you'd like, and visit the artist's website and learn more. And then tune in next week so you can hear more from Andrea about this amazing project. Thank you. Oh, and of course, thank you so much, Jungle Poppins, for starting off our night jamming. And I want to wish you all a wonderful evening, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us and for hosting this, Andrea, and for, just like listening to what we have to say. And I think it's so important that this is happening. So I can't wait to see what like round 2 is going to look like, a whole new set of people to take part. So
yeah,
thank
there's
you.
so much interest in repeating this, right? Additional artists who want to participate. And I want to thank Lux for being a host venue, because the other venues have been churches or libraries or city halls, but Lux gives a real voice to these artists as part of the contemporary art scene. And that's really important, and we appreciate that. They are uniquely able to do that.
Well, thank you. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Thank
Good
you
night,
so much.
Keisha.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, Joy, over and out.